As you may be aware, it costs a ton of money to get a full pilot episode prepared for a prospective TV show. In fact, many TV shows sink hundreds of thousands of dollars into a project just to get a single pilot off the ground. Some even amassing over $1 million an episode, which is ridiculous. But for the TV show It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, they spent $200 on their pilot episode. No, not $200,000, just $200. Hello, welcome to Brain Spill, the laziest show on the internet. My name is Tank, and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia has been one of FX's most popular shows on the network. With 15 seasons under the belt already, they are going strong with no signs of stopping. The show, written and run entirely by its creators, Rob McElhenney, Caitlin Olsen, Glenn Howerton, and Charlie Day, have worked tirelessly on the show all of these years and even managed to get big A-lister celebrity Danny DeVito on the cast too, cementing the show as a cult classic. But unlike many big name studios, if you wanted to fund your own pilot of a potential TV show, it had to come out of your own pocket. And that's exactly what the gang did. However, their situation was a bit more out of desperation more than anything else. This was commented on by Rob, who plays Mac in the show, as he was working as a waiter at the time and failing to find acting and writing work he was pursuing whilst in LA. The original pilot came out of desperation. I mean, I was working at a restaurant and living in the back of a garage somewhere in West Hollywood, and accruing incredible amounts of debt, and I was sort of at the end of my rope. Honestly, I can relate there. Charlie Day, who plays Charlie in the show, was quick to correct him in saying that he didn't actually live in a garage, he lived apparently in the back of a house, but tomatoes, tomatoes. Robert said that he always wanted to act, however, failing to find any decent acting roles when he was in LA, he decided to pitch his own show instead, as he might have a bit more luck doing it that way. Charlie and Glenn, or Charlie and Dennis in the show, already had some success in their acting careers and had a few gigs here and there. But they agreed to band together with longtime friend Rob when he approached them with a 10-page pilot script for what would eventually become Always Sunny. You know what, I'm thinking about any other TV show that's been on television and thinking, would this backstory happen with them? And for most of them, I can probably safely say no. But for a show like this, I can see it very much. I can believe it wholeheartedly. The estimated production cost for this pilot episode was anywhere between $85 to $200, which went almost solely to tapes for the cameras and was filmed between themselves. No crew, no support, just the guys trying to make a full pilot themselves. Charlie Day commented on the first pilot draft they did, and they said that it just wasn't very good. As a matter of fact, one of the main actors, who now plays cricket, was one of the main characters cast in the very first version of the pilot. The actor David Hornsby, who was originally going to play the role of Mac, which is crazy to think about now given the dynamic and how well we know these characters. It would have been a very different show if it wasn't the way that they got it set up now, so I think all these things happened for a reason. The second attempt to make the pilot episode was basically like a home recording, and they had a loose script and they went along with it, but they basically did what they thought was funny. And I mean, yeah, if you're going to do a pilot episode, that's what you want to do. You know, if you think it's funny and you think that you've got a fairly grounded idea of what comedy is, then surely other people will enjoy it as well. That's my belief with this channel so far, but at the moment, I need to be proven right. The working title for the project was It's Always Sunny on Television, and was supposed to take place in Hollywood, California. It follows 3 novice actors as they would go about their various auditions, Rob, Glenn, and Charlie playing themselves respectively, using their real names. The episode itself would run along a similar narrative to that of Season 1, Episode 4 of the actual season where Charlie fakes having cancer. However, the hook for the pilot episode was that the 3 main characters, all as actors in the show, were going for the same role where they had to play out someone who had cancer. What better way of portraying the life of a cancer patient by laying there about the fact that you really do have cancer? Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, if you've never watched this TV show before, it gets pretty dark, but if you like that sort of comedy, then go right ahead, there's 15 seasons of it up there. In fact, they outlined the premise of the pilot in a short and sweet fashion, where a friend came over to another friend's house to get sugar, and the friend tells him he has cancer, and all the guy can think about is getting his sugar and getting out of there. The cast have even commented on the rumour of the $200 for the pilot episode and said that in reality, it was probably even less than that. They don't know exactly how much it cost, but like I said before, they basically used the money to afford the tapes to do the recording. Everything else they filmed on location, and when I say location, I mean their own home or outside. Places where you don't need a permit, and like any home video, you can just whip out a camera and start recording. They just went out on the streets and filmed guerrilla style. No permissions to film, no additional props to buy. It was all based off their current living arrangements, which was well suited because as struggling actors themselves, not only could they put themselves in the feet of the actors in the show, but they basically were living out whatever they were acting. They were struggling actors, which, to be fair, might have made the show much more believable. One thing that Rob stressed at the early stages of production for the show was that they wanted complete creative control. Nobody over their shoulders watching what they were doing or forcing changes on the script or writing, for example. Something which you would imagine is hard for an established person in the industry to do, let alone 3 random actors nobody has ever really heard of at the time. Once the pilot was filmed and produced, they decided to see if they could pitch their show to a network. Which is really strange because the way that a lot of shows normally are pitched is they'll do it via a sizzle reel, so they'll have various clips and parts clumped together. However, not many people actually come on a pitch with a full pilot already produced, which was a little strange to say the least. So they'd pretty much jumped the gun, but hopefully this will work in their favour if they already had a finished product they're ready for networks to view. Rob apparently went to a few publishers to pitch the show to, but when he affirmed his position of them all wanting to be executive producers on the show, all act in the show, and all hold creative control of the show, many companies basically didn't want them. Even though Rob had never pitched a TV show before, apparently it went great, as FX, when they saw the idea for the show, loved it. And I think this very different approach may have served them pretty well, because when they liked the show, they decided to give the crew a shot and air the first season. And just like that, the gang had a TV show, and all they needed to do was start making the episodes. Not at $200 an episode, mind you, they were starting at $450,000 an episode. Yeah! Money! Oh, and also an actual camera and film crew, which they didn't have before either. They managed to hold on to their creative vision mostly, but made some minor changes such as there being too many shows based on Los Angeles, and they therefore shifted the focus of the show from 3 struggling actors in Hollywood to 3 struggling bar owners in Philadelphia. With the introduction of Caitlin Olsen, who would play Dee in the show, the actors wrote and produced the first season. After the first season, FX executives were worried about the show's low ratings and petitioned that changes needed to be made to the cast. There were some disagreements over the need to do this, however, as FX laid the blame on the current case choice. And the cast laid blame on FX for not doing anything to help promote the success of the show. Rob commented on this in an interview with Stephen Colbert and said the following. The first year we made 7 episodes, and they aired the show on a Wednesday night at around 10:30 on FX, which was a new channel at the time. They had no other comedies, no other lead-ins, and I got a call the next day after the first airing. We were very excited, and the president of the network said, nobody watched the show. I said, you didn't market it, you put it on in the middle of the night. We know why nobody watched it. He said, yeah, well, here's the thing. We don't have a marketing budget. We're also a fledgling network. We love the show. We want it to succeed. So we want to add maybe another actor that has a little more cachet. Somebody that can bring some exposure to the show. That certain someone they had in mind was acting legend Danny DeVito, which at first the gang were not too keen on trying to mix up the composition of the cast in the actual show. However, the writing was on the wall, and I think they soon realised that if they didn't make these changes, there might not be a second season of Always Sunny. And so, as you might expect, they relented and agreed to make the changes, and they did eventually get Danny DeVito on board to start in the second season. Now, I know I said that they wanted to keep complete creative control, which is great, but sometimes you've got to let someone else take the reins. And if you know that you might potentially nosedive this into the ground, you need to just take a step back and have a look at everything. If they stuck to their guns, we might not know the show as it is today. Since then, Rob has said that he's more than happy that Danny DeVito joined up. Not only did they warm to the idea after the change of cast, but Danny DeVito could have retired years ago from his long and impressive acting career. but he does this because he loves it and he loves the show. Which I think is awesome. I mean, I loved him as an actor anyway, but just the fact that he does it mainly because he loves the cast and the characters and the actual premise of the show itself makes it so much more enjoyable, because you know that he enjoys the acting role and he'll really thrust himself into it. Danny DeVito joined the cast in the second season and played Dennis's and Dee's estranged father, Frank Reynolds, and from that point onwards, the show has pretty much rocketed into the stratosphere. And there we have it. What started as three friends on a passion project who wanted to pitch a show is now a massive, massive TV show which is known all the way around the world. My YouTube channel probably costs about the same, about $200 to set up, so nothing massive, but I'm just hoping that I might be able to get some course of success just like those guys. Who knows? Either that, or I just need to get Danny DeVito on board. If you liked the video, be sure to like and subscribe. If you want to be notified as soon as I upload my next video, be sure to hit the bell button. And if you've got any ideas for what topics you'd like me to discuss next, let me know down in the comments below. As always, sources used in the video will be in the description. Okay, there's not really much more for me to say at this point, but again, if you've never watched it, I'd highly recommend watching it. It's a barrel of laughs, and to be perfectly honest, after this filming, I'm probably going to go stick some on right now. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Fantastic.